Let us start with the today's session. In the last lecture, we have discussed the learning objectives for the controlled drug delivery system. Furthermore, we have discussed some definitions. Then we have discussed the uh, what are the limitations of conventional drug delivery system over the controlled drug delivery system, and also we have discussed the advantages of controlled drug delivery system. Let us move towards the disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system. So what are the disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system? No doubt, like a conventional drug delivery system, there are the few disadvantages or limitations of the controlled drug delivery system. Very first disadvantage, that is the dose dumping. There might be chances of dose dumping in the gastrointestinal tract if the drug or if the formulation is given by oral route of administration, and whatever we have designed, whatever we have formulated, it is going to be disintegrated, it is going to be break down into the gastrointestinal tract, or due to certain other factors, at once the drug is going to be released, and that may leads to the toxicity to the patient, or that may be lethal to the patient. For example, metoprolol tartarate. If we have designed the oral control drug delivery system of metoprolol tartarate, and due to certain reason, as the drug is highly water soluble, and it if it due to certain reason the dose get released at once, there might be chances of toxicity to the patient, or it may be lethal to the patient. That is the very first disadvantage of controlled drug delivery system. The second limitation of the controlled drug delivery system, that is the retrieval of drug is very difficult. Once the drug is given, uh, and if it shows the toxicity, it becomes very difficult to get it back from the gastrointestinal tract or systemic circulation. That is, retrieval of drug is very difficult in case of toxicity, in case of poisoning or hypersensitivity reaction. This is the second limitation of the controlled drug delivery system. Moving towards the next limitation, that is poor in vitro and in vivo correlation. Already in the last year in the biopharmaceutics, we have discussed the IVIVC, that is level 1, level 2, level 3 correlations. And in the case of when we are designing the control or sustained drug delivery systems, it becomes very difficult to get, or it becomes very difficult to achieve the good correlation between the in vitro data and in vivo data. That is the main limitation of the controlled drug delivery system. So this is the third one. Fourth one, that is the reduced potential for accurate dose adjustment. As we know that it is the that is reduced potential for dosage adjustment of drug is normally administered in various strength. As you know that immediate release formulations are available in the so many strengths. For example, take example of the phenobarbital. It is available in the 30 milligram, 60 milligram, then the 50 milligram, then the 90 milligram, 100 milligram, 120 milligram, 150 milligram. So for the physician, the various strengths are available. There is no need to moderate the dose. But if we have designed the controlled drug delivery system of specific dose, say for example, we have designed the formulation of a X drug with the 100 milligram. It becomes very difficult for physician to adjust the dose according to their need. So that is the fourth limitation of the controlled drug delivery system. So moving towards the next limitation, that is the stability issues. Yes, if we have given the drug by oral route of administration, then say you know that there are so many drugs are there, they are going to be metabolized into the GIT due to the certain enzymes which are present in the gastrointestinal tract. So sometimes the stability issue may get arised in the when we are preparing the controlled drug delivery system. Moving towards the next, that is the limitation, that is higher cost of formulation. When we are designing the controlled drug delivery system, the cost of the formulation is very high when we as compared to the conventional drug delivery system. So this is the sixth disadvantage rather, or limitation of the controlled drug delivery system. The seventh one, that is a reduced flexibility to the physician. Already we have discussed, that is the in the case of reduced potential for accurate dose adjustments according to patient need. So physicians are, it is not possible to, physician doesn't have any flexibility to adjust the dosage according to patient need. So this is about reduced flexibility to the physicians. Then the last one, that is need of additional patient education. It is very important, as you know that in geriatric patient, sometimes they are unable to swallow the conventional formulation. So what they are doing, they are crushing the tablet and swallowing the powder along with the water. If we have prescribed the novel drug delivery system, or we have prescribed the CDDS tablet, and if it is crushed and swallowed, what will happen? At once the drug is going to be released into the gastrointestinal tract, and that may lead to the toxicity to the patient. So we have to suppose to educate the patient related with the dosage form, as it is not a conventional formulation. So what are the limitations, what are the disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system? Very first one is the dose dumping. So there might be chances of at once the drug is going to be released into the gastrointestinal tract or target site and leads to the toxicity. Then retrieval of drug is very difficult in the case of poisoning. Then the poor in vitro in vivo correlation, then reduce the potential for accurate dose adjustment according to patient need. Then the stability issues are there. Then high cost of formulation, reduce the flexibility to the physicians, and need of additional patient education. So these are the limitations, or these are the disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system. So now we will move towards the next point, that is rationally behind designing of the controlled drug delivery system. Before that, we will just see what are the limitations, because that will give us the idea about why to design, why there is a necessity, why there is a requirement to design design and formulate the controlled drug delivery system. So here, shown here, the one figure which comprises all conventional drug delivery systems like capsules, tablets, powders, suppositories, pastes, ointments, syrups, and solutions. Note that all these formulations we are using the conventionally. Yes, we are using all these as a conventional formulation. Then what are the limitations of all these conventional drug delivery systems? Very first limitation, first and very important limitation is that absorption is rate limiting, because at once the drug is going to be released into the gastrointestinal tract or target site, and it is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation. You know that there are two rate limiting steps are there. One is a dissolution is a rate limiting step, and second one is the permeability of drug. Isn't that is the absorption is a rate limiting step in the case of conventional drug delivery system. Then it is very difficult to monitor the fluctuations in plasma drug level, as the drug patient has to take the drug twice a day or thrice a day. So whatever the fluctuations we are getting, daily fluctuations in the plasma concentration, it is very difficult to monitor all these fluctuations when we are prescribing or when we are using the conventional drug delivery system. Then the third problem associated with the conventional drug delivery system, that is a poor patient compliance. That is a very important thing. That is the poor patients are non-compliant due to so many reasons. Then require frequent dosing, isn't it? That is the fourth one. And the last one, that is the risk of over and under medication. There might be chances of risk of the over or under medication when we are using the conventional drug delivery system. No doubt all these are, by considering all these limitations, limitation, there is a need to develop the certain formulation so as to we can avoid all these limitations of the conventional drug delivery system. So let us move towards how we are getting the benefits from by designing the controlled drug delivery system. So this is the rationale behind designing of the controlled drug delivery system. That is very first rationale, that is reduction in the dosing frequency and improved patient compliance. Yes, when we are designing the controlled drug delivery system, automatically more than 2 doses incorporated into the control release formulation, and it is going to release the content at a constant manner, and it is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation, or it is going to be reached into the target site. That is the main. So that's why there is a need to develop the controlled drug delivery system. This is the first rationale behind designing of the controlled drug delivery system, that is reduction in the dosing frequency and improved patient compliance. The second rationale, that is lesser drug exposure to the biological environment. Yes, when we are using the immediate release formulation, as at once the drug is going to be released, at once it is going to be absorbed, and automatically the patient is going to be exposed to the large amount of or huge amount of drug, and that may lead to toxicity. But when we are designing the controlled release formulation, very small or little amount of drug is going to be released, same is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation, and same is going to elicit its pharmacological action, which is in the therapeutic range. Okay, so this is the second point which needs to be considered. The third point, that is minimal blood plasma concentration fluctuations. When we are designing the controlled drug delivery system, there are the minimal plasma concentration fluctuation, that is peaks and valleys are very less, and that's why for long period of time the concentration of drug, it is going to be maintained in the systemic circulation. So we are getting the little fluctuations. Then the better patient compliance. Yes, definitely when we are designing the controlled drug delivery system, we are getting the good patient compliance, because patient has to take only the one tablet once a day. So it's very easy, or minimal adverse side effects. As I have said that very small amount of drug is going to be released from the formulation, so definitely we are getting the very low side effects or adverse effects when we are designing the controlled drug delivery system. Only we have to supposed to take care of the dose dumping, isn't it? Then augmented drug delivery system, and finally the reduced drug toxicity. So this is a medical rationale behind the designing of the controlled drug delivery system, that is a reduction in the dosing frequency and improved patient compliance, lesser drug exposure to biological environment, then minimal blood plasma concentration fluctuation, better patient compliance, lower or minimal adverse side effects, augmented drug delivery, and reduced drug toxicity. So this is the rationale behind the designing of the controlled drug delivery system. Already we have seen the limitations. These limitation makes the these limitations of the conventional drug delivery system, that is the system is absorption rate limited, it is difficult to monitor the fluctuations in plasma drug level, then poor patient compliance, require frequent dosing, and risk of over or under medications, which can be avoided by designing the suitable controlled drug delivery system. So let us move towards the very important point, that is the selection of drug candidate. So before discussing these points, now you are aware about the various all the definitions. You are aware about the advantages and disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system. You are aware about the disadvantages or limitations of conventional drug delivery system. Now you are aware about rationale behind the designing of controlled drug delivery system, why there is a need to prepare, or why there is a need to formulate the drug as a controlled release drug delivery systems, to select the specific drug, how to select the specific category for the which is to be formulated as a controlled drug delivery system, control release drug delivery system. So let us move towards the first point, that is the drug should have the optimal half life. Yes, what is mean by the half life? It is time required to eliminate the half quantity of drug from its original. Suppose that, listen carefully, suppose that if the drug is having a very short half life, take example of penicillin, say it is having a half life of 45 minutes, is it possible to prepare the controlled drug delivery system of penicillin? Because penicillin, it is having a high dose, very short half life. No doubt it is not at all possible, because huge quantity of drug we have to suppose to incorporate into the formulation, which is going to maintain the daily requirement of the patient. So if the drug is having a very short half life or a very long half life, for example, very long half life, take example of phenobarbital, which is having a almost 3 to 5 days elimination half life. There is no need, it is not at all possible to formulate the phenobarbital into control release or sustained release, because itself drug is a long acting, isn't it? So the drugs which are having the very short half life or very long half life, these drugs are not suitable for the designing of control release drug delivery systems, isn't it? So moving towards the next point, that is the high first pass metabolism. For example, propranolol hydrochloride, it is almost more than 90% of drug, it is going to be metabolized by the liver. Such drugs are not suitable. Take example of salbutamol sulfate, take example of nitroglycerin. All these drugs are not suitable for the designing of the oral controlled drug delivery system. Okay, no doubt it is possible to design these drugs for other routes, say for example transdermal or buccal, isn't it? But when we are considering the oral route of administration, if the drug is having the high first pass metabolism, such drugs are not suitable to formulate as a controlled drug delivery system. So let us move towards the next point, poor absorption through the GIT. If the drug, there is a drug and which shows the poor drug absorption from the GIT, such drugs are also not suitable for the controlled drug delivery system. The next point, that is the low aqueous solubility. Say for example griseofulvin, it is having a low aqueous solubility. It is not possible to design the such drugs for the controlled drug delivery system. If the drug is having a large dose size, for example metoprolol tartrate, it is having a daily dose of 1 gram to 2.5 gram. Or take example of paracetamol, the daily requirement is approximately 1.5 gram to 3 grams. So it is such drugs are not suitable for the designing of controlled drug delivery system. And the next point, last point rather, that is the narrow therapeutic window. If the drug is having a very narrow therapeutic window, that is for example digoxin, such drugs are not suitable for the designing of control drug delivery system. So what are the points to be considered while selecting the drug candidates? If the drug is having a very short half-life or very long half-life, such drugs are not suitable for designing of the controlled drug delivery system. If drug shows the high first pass metabolism, such drugs are not suitable for the controlled drug delivery system. If the drug is poorly absorbed from the gastrointestinal tract, such drugs are not suitable for the designing of controlled drug delivery system. If the drug is having a low aqueous solubility, such drugs are not suitable for the designing of controlled drug delivery system. If the drug is having a very large dose, such drugs are not suitable for the controlled drug delivery system. And if the drug is having a narrow therapeutic window, it is not at all possible. So these are the points, 6 points we have to suppose to consider while selecting the drug candidate for the control drug delivery system. here I have shown one chart, and which is very important, which will give you the idea about how to select the specific drug, for the controlled drug delivery system. So suppose that we have selected the certain categories, say for example, antihypertensive category we have selected. We have the list of all the antihypertensive drug, and we have to suppose to prepare one table by considering all these points, whatever I have shown, that is pharmacokinetic properties of the drug, biopharmaceutical properties of the drug, and pharmacodynamic properties of the drug. Make the table, compare it, and definitely it is possible for you to select the drug for designing and formulating of the controlled drug delivery system. So which are those points? Very first one, that is we'll see the pharmacokinetic properties of the drug. Already see in the last year itself we have discussed what is mean by the biopharmaceutics, what is mean by the pharmacokinetics, and what is mean by the pharmacodynamics. So there is no need to discuss it once again. So let us discuss the points which are very important for selection of drug candidates. So very first point, that is the absorption rate constant. So absorption rate constant, it gives the idea about the at what rate the drug is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation. So while selecting the any drug, it should have generally the very high absorption rate constant. So whatever the amount of drug which is released from the formulation, it is going to be absorbed into the systemic circulation in order to maintain the steady state plasma concentration. So this is the first point. The second point which is need to be considered, that is the elimination half-life. It should be generally it should be 2 to 6 hour or 2 to 8 hour. These drugs are suitable for the designing of the controlled drug delivery system. Then the dosage form index, yes, it is the ratio between CSS to C minimum. It should be at least one such drugs should be selected for the designing of the controlled drug delivery system. Then the metabolism rate or the biotransformation, it should or the first pass, it should not be too high. If the drug is going to be cleared by the liver, such drugs are not suitable for designing of the controlled drug delivery system, because from the controlled drug delivery system, the small amount of drug it is going to be released, and the same through hepatic portal vein, the same amount of drug it is going to be reached into the liver and being cleared by the liver. So it's a no use to design the controlled drug delivery system. So these 4 points needs to be considered while selecting the controlled drug delivery system. These are the pharmacokinetic properties, that is the absorption rate constant, then the elimination half-life, then dosage form index, and the metabolism rate. Isn't it? Are you getting me? So moving towards the biopharmaceutical properties or biopharmaceutics properties. Very first one, all these are the physicochemical properties of the drug. So almost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties I have listed over here. That is the very first one, that is the aqueous solubility of drug. At least the drug should have the aqueous solubility of more than 0.1 milligram per ml. If the solubility of drug it is less than 0.1 milligram per ml, what will happen? Itself the drug is sustained release or the controlled release, isn't it? Because here in this case the formulation becomes the dissolution rate control. It's a dissolution is the rate limiting step. So at least drug should have the solubility greater than 0.1 milligram per ml. Then molecular size of the drug, yes, it is very important, because how the drug is going to be diffused from the formulation and how the drug is going to be permeated from the biological membrane, it is very important, and it is going to be decided by the molecular size of the drug. If the drug is having the molecular size less than 600 Dalton, such drugs easily absorbed by the passive diffusion, and such drugs are also going to be diffused from the formulation into the bulk of solution through the polymer very easily than the drugs which are having the molecular weight greater than 500 to 600 Dalton. Say for example proteins, you know that proteins are having the high molecular weight and they are not going to be absorbed. That is the first case. Second thing, they are going to be degraded in the gastrointestinal tract. Fourth thing, we have prepared the protein formulation with the certain polymers. Again, the issue of diffusion is there. How the drug is going to be diffused from the polymer matrix into the bulk of solution. There are two important things are there. That is release of drug from the polymer matrix and permeation of a drug, release the drug into the through the biological membrane. In both cases, the diffusion is important, or we have to supposed to consider this parameter. Then the next point, that is the ionization. Drug should have less than 95% of ionization, means almost 5% of drug it should be in the in the unionized state, because that is available for the absorption, isn't it? So ionization, it should be less than 95%. Then the absorption mechanism, yes, it is very important. Already we have discussed the absorption mechanism in the molecular size. That is, it should be absorbed by the passive diffusion. If the drug is going to be absorbed by the other mechanisms like carrier mediated transport, such drugs are not suitable for the controlled drug delivery system. Then the stability of drug in the gastrointestinal tract. Yes, as I have said that penicillins, they are unstable in the gastrointestinal tract. Then the erythromycin, the drugs which are not stable in the GIT, it is not at all possible to select for the controlled drug delivery system. So stability is an important issue. Then the partition coefficient, at least O by W, oil to water, octanol to water, it should be at least 1 to 2. If it is greater than 2, again it becomes means solubility issues are there, or it becomes more and more lipophilic, and it is not going to be dissolved into the gastrointestinal fluid. So partition coefficient parameter, it is also important. Then moving towards the PK of the drug. Yes, what should be ideal PK for the drug? No doubt it is not in our hand, but generally we have to select the drug. Say for example, acidic drugs should have the PK greater than 2.5, so as to the maximum amount of drug it is being available in the unionized form. And in the case of basic drug, it should have the PK less than 11. So by considering these 7 points, now it is possible for to select the specific drug. Yes, it is possible, because already we have discussed all these properties in the last year. That is aqueous solubility, molecular size, ionization, absorption mechanism, then stability in the GIT, partition coefficient, and PK. In the case of PK, we have discussed much more details about the pH partition hypothesis, which is being explained by the Brody et al. By considering the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation, and that will be very helpful for selecting the suitable drug candidate for the controlled drug delivery system. Very last point in the selection of drug candidate for controlled release drug delivery systems, that is the pharmacodynamic properties. So what are the pharmacodynamic properties needs to be considered? Very first point, that is the dose of the drug. Whatever the dose is there, it should be less than 1000 milligram. Why it should be less than 1000 milligram? What will happen if it is greater than 1 gram? Yes, if the dose of the drug it is more than 1 gram, and we have to supposed to design the controlled drug delivery system. So we are making the very big tablet, and because the controlled release formulations contains 2 to 3 doses, which is being, there is a formula, and with the help of this formula it is possible to calculate the dose, but it becomes the final dose of this formulation. If it is a drug, it is having the dose size greater than 1 gram, more than 1 gram, the final dose size becomes 2.5 gram, and it becomes very difficult to swallow the such tablet. So the drug should have the dose less than 1 gram. Then the therapeutic range, yes, it should be wide. If it is a narrow, what will happen? there may be the fluctuation, there may be the toxicities, and such drugs are not suitable because whatever things are there we are controlling, it is the things are depend on the dissolution rate. And if it is not controlled in the within the limit, it becomes there may be the concentration in the plasma, it becomes just above the maximum effective concentration, it may be below the minimum effective concentration. If the drug is having the wide therapeutic range, then it becomes very easy for us to adjust or to formulate the controlled drug delivery system. Therapeutic index, again, it should be wide. And last one, that is the PK/PD relationship, it should be very good. That is pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic relationship, it should be good. So whatever we have planned, same should be executed, or according to that we should get the effect of drug. So in all, while selecting the suitable drug candidate for CRDDS, drug should have the very drug should not have the very short or very long half life. Then it should not have the high first pass metabolism. Then the drugs with a poor absorption through the GIT, such drugs are not suitable. Then the drugs which are having very low aqueous solubility, they are not suitable, because whatever the system we are designing itself, it is a dissolution rate limited. So there is no need to formulate into the sustain or control release. If the drug is having a large dose size, such drugs are also not suitable for the designing of the controlled drug delivery system. And if the drug is having a narrow therapeutic window, such drugs are also not suitable for the controlled drug delivery system. Also, we have seen all these factors, or the important parameters which are required for selection of the drug, that is the pharmacokinetic properties, biopharmaceutical properties, and the pharmacodynamic properties. In the pharmacokinetic properties, we have to supposed to consider absorption rate constant, elimination half-life, dosage form index, and metabolism rate. In the case of biopharmaceutical properties, that is physicochemical properties, that is the aqueous solubility, molecular size, ionization, absorption mechanism, stability, and partition coefficient, and pK of the drug, that is acidic drugs and the basic drugs. Then the pharmacodynamic properties, we have to supposed to consider the dose, we have to supposed to consider the therapeutic range, and we have to supposed to consider the therapeutic index. So in this session, we have discussed the disadvantages of controlled drug delivery system. Yes, we have discussed the rationale behind designing of the controlled drug delivery system, and we have discussed the selection of drug candidate for the controlled drug delivery system.